the man who thought himself king.
Some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed.
Scene 2, Act 3, Richard II, 629 AS. The rock upon which the keep of his ancestors was firm as the man himself was, and as proud as any Khalid. Every inch and fragment of the stone was part of the earth, and had been there for millennia since time immemorial. There were legends, certainly, that a great elvish prince had raised it up in a primordial age, and did so to build his own keep, as he had done at Sigane. But Ringan had never believed in such stories. It was not that he did not believe in anything outside of himself. By no means was he a man without a certain penchant for faith. A frequent visitor of a myriad of temples to more than a half-dozen gods, he had given over more wealth than his brother had to the temple. Elves were creatures purely of myth and legend to his mind, and it annoyed him that others did not think of them as mere fancy and myth.
False superstitions are a poison for the spirit,
his brother Domhnall had often chanted, as he had plenty of other proverbs. The fact that his brother's former absolver, Brother Freyan, intended to copy them all down in a tome from where he had been imprisoned in Craig Abbey amused him. 2 years, a part of him mused with no small amount of sorrow. 2 years since he had lost his brother. His older brother had always been his protector, his most ardent defender, and greatest patron.
Come back to bed,
Aina whispered seductively from behind him, with only a thin sheet to protect her modesty. Continuing to stare out the large window, it gave a splendid view out into the vast Ilean fields that stretched far to the north and west of the castle. To the south lay the Firth of the Thurn. Ringan smiled at the sound of the distant gulls and crashing waves. Aye, the grief at the loss of his elder brother, and also that of his son, Kenneth, had been so difficult. And yet, thanks to Aina, he now had 3 daughters, and the possibility of a 4th son. Pregnant at the time of the massacre with their twins, she had given birth shortly thereafter, only to within 4 moons to be with child again. Though she was the mother of a number of children, she showed little of this on her figure.
Nay, there's far too much to do, especially in regard to the news surrounding the battles west of the Highlands.
Ringan turned away reluctantly from her to continue to stare, if only briefly, outside for a little longer. The seas were raging as always, the skies threatening another storm as always, and the courtyard of the castle was lovely as always. Several of the children he could see were hurrying out to play about under the watchful supervision of Walton, the head of the men-at-arms. Thereupon the rock on which the keep was built, amongst the young boys were a number of the sons and brothers of the enemies of Ringan, and some of his allies. None of them were wholly safe, for none knew upon whose head might befall the wrath of the new High King. Beyond the castle walls was the city of Craig, one that consisted of 2,000 or so souls. The village had grown from several hundred to several thousand, and thus into one of the largest cities in the kingdom of the Khalids. It was the dream of Ringan that one day it might grow into the principal center of the realm. This was to be his true legacy, he told himself. Ringan's attention was torn from his internal musings by the sudden sight of a dark figure on the horizon. This person was slightly built, and but a speck from where he stood. However, the way in which he moved brought to mind a wolf or a dog.
Ringan,
Aina called, pulling his attention from the window, now fully dressed. She studied him closely.
Why are you not listening to me?
It was nothing. My heart, nothing,
he replied uneasily, preferring to turn his mind to other matters.
What is it that is planned for this day?
No need to think on black specks in the distance, he told himself. Not when there was such happiness at hand.
The Mormaer of Norroak has begun to advance about the Highlands to strike at Rybert, hoping to corner him against them as he sweeps just south of Luthane's forces.
The messenger from Norroak explained, having carried with him the knowledge of Rory's stratagems against the nephew of the High King. The tactics utilized by the Northern Laird brought a frown to Padraig's lips. His father did not blame him for his doubt, even as he found himself nodding his head in satisfaction.
Good, good. Convey to him my approval.
What? How could you approve of such a strategy, father?
The Crown Prince demanded of his sire, confused.
Because, my son, in war, the greater the gamble, the greater the victory,
Ringan said quietly.
Rory has never failed, and has established himself as a man of some talent in war.
There was more that Padraig would have liked to say. This much he could tell with a single glance. After a brief, exasperated exchange with his lovely queen, the monarch chose to offer up, as was proper compensation, along with the hospitality to the messenger, for such good tidings.
You may stay here as long as you like. Doubtless we shall soon hear of thy lad's victory before long.
The man thanked him and was gone at once to the kitchens to accept some food before he went off to rest. Turning to his chamberlain, Dougal, Ringan asked of him,
What else is there, Dughall? I wish to hunt and should hope there is little else to do for the moment.
There is the matter of the dispensing of justice.
The chamberlain stuttered. He had served under Domhnall in the past, so that he always assumed everyone would be as keenly interested in justice as the old king had been.
Bah, such matters should ought to be seen to by my sons. Wait, where is Dibby?
Ringan asked impatiently.
He must have had other matters to attend to.
Quoth Aina in a falsely nervous voice, pretending to care one whit about what her stepson was up to. Fixing a dark look upon her, if briefly so, Podrick would answer,
I will go look for him if it might please you, father.
What indeed?
Ringland replied sharply, only to, for the moment, banish the thought of his youngest son from his mind.
Is there aught else?
I,
said the chamberlain reluctantly, motioning from the rear of the crowd for one man to advance.
the seers of whom we spoke some time ago, has arrived after a long journey. I took the liberties after we spoke of having him invited here so that he might predict thy fortunes.